Hey everybody, this is Rustin Rose with Access Entertainment and Metalholic magazine. With us today, Jeremy Spencer, dynamic drummer for Five Finger Death Punch, and as of yesterday, published author, currently out on your first book signing tour. How are you doing, brother?
Good, man. Been getting up early, doing a lot of signing, doing a lot of talking, but having a great time.
Fantastic. First off, I want to thank you for my sleep deprivation today. When I got home at midnight last night, I found Death Punch, surviving Five Finger Death Punch's Metal Mayhem, waiting by I was waiting by the door for me. UPS dropped it off sometime yesterday, apparently, and I planned to read just a few pages last night to get a feel for what was going on, and I think I was almost halfway through the book when I finally passed out. So,
well, good, man. That's good. That's a good sign.
Absolutely. Now, let me share that by day I work in a prison that specializes in treatment for drug and alcohol addiction. So when I heard about Death Punched, I was really excited to talk with you about it. So many of the young men I work with hail Five Finger Death Punch as a band they admire. The book and story can be inspirational for them.
Oh, well, thanks, man. Yeah, I basically started writing this thing the day I got out of rehab a couple of years ago, and it was just a way for me to kind of deal with some stuff that I never dealt with and just basically write my life and relive a lot of things and get some stuff out. And it was therapeutic for me, you know, and I'd sent it to my dad to just kind of look it over and stuff and see what he thought. And he was like, I actually think you have something here that might be of some benefit to people, but if you release it in this form, you're going to be hated. So why don't you let me help you with some revision? So he helped me revise it, and then I sent it to management, who loved it and helped me get the book deal. And I've been getting a lot of positive feedback even in the past couple of days, you know. So it's only been out since yesterday, but I guess some people got it a couple of days early when they went to their bookstore or whatever, and it's been nothing but positive response so far.
Absolutely, and I've talked with you before, so I know you're a highly intelligent individual, but when I was actually reading the book, I was amazed at just the level of your intellect that I hadn't counted on, so it was very well done. Yeah, and as you said, I was going to say, I got to imagine it had to be amazingly cathartic for you to sort of spill all this out, sort of continue to get some of the toxins out of you and get a different perspective now that you're in recovery.
For sure, you know, I mean, I had to put my energy somewhere, and it was a new process for me being clean, you know, after partying for so long that I just thought, wow, this is a positive way for me to deal with some of this stuff, so that's why I did it.
I don't want to steal any thunder from the book. Obviously, we want people to buy it and read it, and I know you're actually donating a portion of the proceeds, too, to alcohol and substance abuse and whatnot, but can you give us maybe a synopsis of the journey that led you to recovery?
Well, I mean, basically I started at a really young age getting wrapped up in drugs and alcohol, and I was in rehab by the time I was 16. So I got out, and I was clean and sober for about 15 years during all the time I was in Hollywood trying to make it. Numerous bands that got real close a lot of times, and then, you know, right at the last second we didn't get signed or something happened and it fell apart. And it was a lot of heartbreak and a lot of discouraging times until finally Death Punch happened, you know. The band, it actually was green lit, and we were allowed to participate in the music world, and we released a record, and all of a sudden people knew who we were, and everything just started escalating and escalating and escalating to the point to where, you know, I was choosing the darker side of things, and it was starting to catch up with me. And then finally one day at the Mandalay Bay in Vegas, I had been up for a couple of days straight and had been, you know, doing my party schedule, and all of a sudden my heart just kind of rebelled, and it started skipping beats, and I started convulsing and was having cold shakes, and I was laying there thinking, you may have done it this time, you idiot. So I was thinking, if you get out of this and survive, you need to go make a change. So fortunately, I made it through that, and I called the treatment center and checked myself in on my birthday. I've been clean and sober almost 3 years.
Well, and congratulations on that. And they say the 3-year mark is really it. If you can get to that 3-year mark, staying clean and doing the new things that you need to do, you really have an outstanding chance of not going back.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'd kind of made up my mind this time. Actually, I had 15 years sobriety before I relapsed,
right.
But the first time I was in treatment, I was a really young kid, and I didn't know what to expect. You know, after I got out, I was just sober for so many years, but then I thought, you know, maybe I'm older now, maybe I can handle this or whatever, and, boy, you know, I was really, boy, was I ever wrong. I relapsed, and then things just went on a freight train downward real fast, and So now I know if I do that again, what I'm going to get, and I have no desire to return to that life. So I think I'm good.
Right. Many of the guys that we get back into our program, we discover that when we talk to them about what brought them back, it usually turned out to be either overconfidence, they were doing so well, or they got complacent. Those seem to be the two biggest nemesis.
For sure. Yeah. It's almost like being a dry drunk because you're not really dealing with anything. You're just living without drinking.
Right.
And that was me for a lot of years.
I know you said your dad sort of helped you go back and revise and edit a little bit. Does that mean you had to cut out or tame down bits and pieces you felt were maybe too over the top?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of brutal stuff, man. I mean, I was pretty angry and raw and vulnerable, and there was no filter when I first started. I was just writing everything, so it was a little bit harsh. And he was like, "Yeah, you might want to lose that." So, we went through it, and he helped me kind of dial it in. It's still pretty brutal, but it's definitely readable.
Yeah, and so far, like I said, I'm about halfway through, and I'm loving what I'm reading, and it's very open. It's still, you can sense between the lines the rawness there. So, now, what is your hope for people to take away from reading Death Punched?
Well, I just hope that they can relate to any part of my story. I mean, I know there are a lot of people out there struggling with addiction, and I know there are a lot of people out there trying to have a successful career in music and be in a band that, makes it to the top or whatever. And I think that there are a lot of struggles and a lot of stories in there that might be relatable to people. And if it can just help one person, I think I think that the book's done its job.
Now, I noticed between the first time we spoke pre-recovery and the second time, you seem to have had more focus and energy. You certainly look healthier. What are some of the tools that you use to manage your relapse triggers?
Well, at first it was tough, man. I just had to stay out of places that I used to, go to whenever I was partying, because I would walk into a hotel and you'd see the hotel bar with bottles of wine in there, and that was a big trigger. Or a certain restaurant, or just certain atmospheres, whatever. But now the cravings they're pretty much gone, and I talk to my therapist pretty much daily, and she helps. I'm in a different headspace altogether.
Right, and the external triggers always seem to be the hardest at first. The places you used to be, the people you used to know. But I think long term, it's the internal triggers that pose the biggest difficulty for people to get beyond.
Yeah, I just know what I'm going to get if I do it, and I really don't want to return to that life. It was so dark and miserable that
right.
I'm enjoying things so much the way they are that I'm really not having that problem right now.
Yeah, I haven't seen a photo of you in the last 2 or 3 years where you're not grinning like a kid, so that's pretty awesome to see. So,
for sure, it's a big change.
I also noticed your body art seems to have grown a bit post-rehab. Is that in any way tied to your recovery process?
I don't think so, but anytime I get a tattoo, I'm like, well, I have to balance it out now on the other side just because it doesn't look right to me. Maybe it is tied in some way, but I don't know, I've been getting a lot of tattoos, and it just seems like it's never stopping, but I'm almost out of canvas, so we'll be stopping here shortly.
In your mind, what's the biggest difference, besides substance abuse and alcohol, obviously, between Jeremy Spencer before and now?
Well, I think I'm in touch with myself, and I'm learning to, be cool with where I'm at in the present moment and actually appreciate myself, whereas before I didn't feel good about myself at all, a lot of insecurity, a lot of just beating myself up all the time. So the biggest difference is now I'm happy with who I am.
And it shows, it really clearly shows. And I think this book is going to be, it's a wonderful read regardless of what you're reading it for, because it gives us some real insight into you, some backdoor look at some of the stuff that's gone on in the band and everything, which is really intriguing. Fans love that stuff. And speaking of which, before we get out of here, besides the upcoming tour, what else is on the horizon for Death Punch fans?
Well, we've been actually in the recording studio recently recording new material, so we're planning on, after the tour is done, getting back in the studio and finishing stuff off in the winter and then trying to release something late spring, early summer. So we've been staying busy.
Wow. And then I thought I saw somewhere, and I couldn't find it again, but I thought I read somewhere that you're actually maybe working on some sort of film project?
Yeah, I do have a little side project, these two redneck characters called Uncle Colt and Cletus, and we actually landed this online TV series several months back, but the CEO ended up leaving the company, and then the new people that came in pulled it. So I kind of lost that deal, but we're retooling it, and I'm going to be shopping it again. We're definitely not stopping anytime soon. I just have to go do this Death Punch tour first before we can film.
Awesome, Jeremy. Last question before we get out of here. For those sort of battling their own demons, what words of advice can you share with them based on your experience?
Well, everyone has to figure out their own path, and I'm not here to tell you what to do with your life, but I tried the dark side, and it just didn't work for me. And they say a lot of times you have to hit the wall before you wake up to make the decision whether you're going to stop or not. Fortunately for me, I didn't. I hit the wall, but it wasn't hard enough to kill me, and I hope that's the case with other people. There's help out there. You can talk to people. You can pick up the phone, but really the desire has to come from within. You have to want to stop.
Fantastic words of advice, Jeremy. Thank you so much for taking the time. The book's wonderful. Good luck with that. And enjoy the book signing tour. That's got to be a new experience. So
It definitely is new. I'm digging it so far.
All right. Take care, brother. We'll see you on the road.
Thanks. You too. See ya.